New Jersey is known as the Garden State, but if you know anything about American history, you may also consider it the crossroads of the American Revolution. General George Washington and the Continental Army spent more time in New Jersey during 6 years of conflict than any other state, and landmark battles took place in New Jersey that would change the course of the American Revolution. We're traveling in this podcast to Princeton Battlefield State Park, a destination travelers can visit to learn about the American Revolution in New Jersey. We'll meet two experts on location, Larry Kidder, a historian and author of the book 10 Crucial Days, Washington's Vision for Victory Unfolds, and interpreter Will Krakower. We'll also hear from the American Battlefield Trust about new plans for interpretation at Princeton Battlefield State Park. It's a Travels with Darley podcast, where we take you on location to learn about history, culture, food, and travel. I actually e-biked to Princeton Battlefield State Park on an overcast spring day. I'd been traveling throughout New Jersey to understand the state's role in the American Revolution. A huge part of the story happened in Princeton, including on the campus of what is now Princeton University. The open lands of the battlefield, lush green and dotted with a few beautiful trees, including the famous Mercer oak, a gorgeous tree not far from where General Hugh Mercer fell during the battle. It's just a mile southwest of Princeton University. Larry Kidder, a historian and author of the 10 Crucial Days book, joins me at the site of the battle, now preserved as Princeton Battlefield State Park. This battle would be the third surprising and significant victory to cap off what many historians refer to as the 10 Crucial Days. We stroll over to an interpretive sign. What is the significance of the Battle of Princeton in the greater American Revolution?
It really turned the tide. The tide had been flowing in the direction of the British victory. The war could have ended if it hadn't been for the Battle of Princeton, but it went on for 6.5 years after, and that's because Washington did what he did here and was successful. Before the Battle of Princeton was the time that Thomas Paine referred to as these are the times that try men's souls. The revolution was essentially envisioned as being close to over by both sides, and the Americans obviously losing. By the end of the Battle of Princeton and the 10 Crucial Days, everything had turned around and the Americans had a new lease on life, and the British were saying, uh-oh, we got a long thing going here.
A battle was not planned that early in the morning, but the Continental troops were moving north to Princeton just as the British were traveling south to attack Trenton. The area where Princeton Battlefield State Park is today was at that time farmland, and it's where the two armies would suddenly confront each other.
Both Washington now and the British commander had to make a decision. Do I keep going where I'm supposed to be going, to Princeton on Washington's side, to Trenton on the British commander's side, or do I try to find out what's going on here? And the Battle of Princeton took place because both decided to find out what was going on here.
Why is it important for people to visit Princeton Battlefield State Park?
Not only can they learn about the military actions that took place, which were extremely important, but they can also learn about how military actions affect the people whose property the actions take place on.
The battle took place on the farm of Thomas Clark, whose original two-story half-Georgian frame house still stands today. The 7-room home is furnished in the period of the Revolution. Inside, travelers can learn from exhibitions. A plan is underway to restore the core of Princeton Battlefield and add traditional interpretation and new technologies to share the full story of the battle. David Duncan of the American Battlefield Trust shares further context on how the Battlefield Trust helps save land and interpret history.
We were involved in a campaign to save the field where Washington made his final charge several years ago. And as important as it is for us to save these properties, and in this case, there was going to be some development slated for the land that we saved, so we were able to forestall that. If we just save an open field and let it become overgrown and you don't interpret it, you don't tell people what happened there, you've done something important, but you haven't done the full story. You haven't told the full story that you need to tell. So we are working very closely with the local community there in Princeton, also with the state, to create something we're calling Washington's Legacy. And it is a reimagining of the interpretation of that battlefield, which for the last 40 or 50 years has been dominated mostly by joggers or walkers or dog walkers or things like that, with a few signs. But we want to bring to the fore the importance of the Princeton battlefield to our country's history. So again, a lot of the same things in a phased approach, new battlefield interpretive signs. We're creating one that's called Window to the Past. It's still low tech, but you will look through a clear panel and be able to see how the forces were aligned on the battlefield, actually where you're standing. So it's not just a map on a traditional sign. But the same thing with videos and augmented reality, virtual reality. Eventually, in later phases, we're also hoping and working with the state of New Jersey to possibly have a new visitor center created at that battlefield. So we know that's extremely important. People like to go to visitor centers, see some museums. It's pedestrian, but people are interested in bathrooms as well and gift shops. So you need to have those types of amenities to really get people to come out to the battlefields. So we're just really excited about Princeton. We're still engaged in some pretty significant fundraising that we need to do for that effort as well. But again, bringing that battlefield to life in ways that it's never been brought to life before.
Back at Princeton Battlefield State Park, inside the Thomas Clark House, I'm meeting Will Krakower, who interprets the history and shares some details about the family and what happened in the days after the battle.
Thomas Clark lived here with his sister and an enslaved woman owned by the Clark family named Susanna, and the three of them were here in this house with obviously shrapnel, shot, and shell coming through the building. They hid below our feet in the basement of this house. They were Quakers, pacifists, so they are deeply thought of as suspicious by both American and British military forces. That translates here in the Clark House in an interesting way. After the battle, these Quakers get to take a little agency back by deciding who comes in, and they decide everybody, both British and American soldiers, will be taken here and treated in the house.
Prior to visiting Princeton Battlefield State Park, I went behind the scenes at Princeton University, and I gained access to view and film a special Charles Willson Peale portrait that I bring up to Will.
We were able to take a look at the Charles Peale portrait of George Washington depicting the Battle of Princeton.
Brigadier General Hugh Mercer here at Princeton, his brigade is right in front, and so it is Mercer who will be mortally wounded when the British bayonet charge into the apple orchard. He's taken to this room here about 2 hours after the conclusion of the battle, and he will remain in that room for the rest of his life, the next 9 days.
General Hugh Mercer is shown in Peale's painting as expiring in the arms of Surgeon Benjamin Rush.
At the time of his death, he's the second highest ranking Continental Army officer to have been killed in the line of duty thus far during the war.
We have this battle happening on the 10th day of what is called the 10 crucial days. And I hear some people say there's more.
Yes, there's a Tibetan, right? You ask any historian, they'll say, oh, well, the 5 days before are important or the 5 days after are important, right? So colloquially, we call it the 10 crucial days, the 25th of December until the 3rd of January. But there are things happening on either side of these 10 days that could also be included, in this campaign that are just as crucial. The Battle of Petticoat Bridge, the Battle of Ironworks Hill. These are small battles in South Jersey near Mount Holly that play a major role in what happens up here in Central Jersey, around Trenton and Princeton, but they get sort of brushed away a little silently for the, the three big battles up here, the two at Trenton and the one at Princeton.
10 crucial days for people who aren't aware of what those even are. Can you give me a rundown?
Sure. The 10 Crucial Days was a campaign which Washington and the Continental Army embarked on in the end of December of 1776. Up until that point, the Continental Army had faced a series of defeats which were pushing the revolution towards an untimely end. And in these 10 days, Washington and the Continental Army managed to win 3 incredible victories and pretty much turned the tide of the war from utter defeat to the possibility of victory. One of their contemporaries said that it gave reputation to their arms, and in that sense, hope was rekindled that this revolution could be won. They still have 6 more years of war, but these 10 days are the first step towards victory.
I continue to read about Princeton Battlefield and the greater American Revolution as we create these podcasts, and also the video version of the Travels with Darley TV series, where you can watch our visit to this destination in New Jersey as part of New Jersey Revolutionary Road Trips Part 1, and refer to our other podcasts covering American Revolution and Civil War battlefields in South Carolina and Virginia. And if you want more information on Princeton Battlefield State Park and other battlefield sites you might like to visit, check out battlefields.org. Have a topic you want to hear or see us covering? Please reach out, and thanks for listening.